Monday night, July 23rd. It is the Wrestling Inc. post Monday Night Raw podcast. I'm your host, Justin LaBar, tonight being joined by the creator of Wrestling Inc. He is the Vince McMahon of Wrestling Inc., Mr. Raj Giri. Raj, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, Justin, how are you doing?
Good. And we are waiting the run-in, Mr. Matt Morgan, who will make his, I'm sure he'll make some great appearance here sooner than later.
Yeah. He should be on soon.
All right, Raj, well, let's jump in. We'll get Matt going once he gets in here. Obviously, the big build for tonight, all the talk about tonight, all centered around Stephanie McMahon having a big announcement. We start the show, pretty unusual this day and age to see Vince McMahon, no music or nothing for TV, in the ring, introduces Stephanie and Triple H, the entire Raw roster, and a good portion of all the women's roster on the stage. Do the big drum up, the big build up of wanting a chance and doing everything for the WWE Universe and the Universe, having their voice heard. The women are asked to step forward, and we get what was, pretty heavily rumored and thought upon, which is the official announcement that there will be the first ever women's only pay-per-view, October 28th, Nassau Coliseum, New York. It'll be called Evolution. Did this live up to the billing of all the hype?
I guess. What'd you think? I guess we kind of saw it coming, at least part of it. There were also rumors of possibly, introducing women's tag titles and then maybe having that created at that show. Obviously, that did not happen. There is actually going to be 4 title matches on this. There's, in addition to the Mae Young Classic Finals, there's going to be the NXT Women's title defended, the Raw Women's title, the SmackDown Women's title, and one that they didn't mention on the show, but the new NXT UK Women's title will also be defended. So they said they're going to have 50 women on the show. That's a lot. With the Royal Rumble, they pulled in a lot of legends and had a hard time getting 30, and that's with some NXT talent. But I guess with all the NXT, the women in developmental and some of the women from the Mae Young Classic, you should be able to easily get that.
Well, they're touting over 50 women. What did Stephanie say? Then, now, and forever, to past and present. But that doesn't mean the 50 are going to be, in a match. They've said that Trish Stratus and Lita. They mentioned both of them. I think Beth Phoenix too. I think those are the 3 they kept mentioning, saying that they'll be a part of it. So who knows if that's, what that means? It doesn't necessarily mean a match, but that could be special commentary. That could be. Right. GM for the night or something of that regard.
And Beth was did commentary for the Mixed Match Challenge, so she does have some experience in that area. So,
and I think that'll be something to watch. It's coming to some of those special roles. Do we see a Beth Phoenix on commentary again? Do we see a Renee Young, who I know fans of her, and I'm a fan of hers. I thought she's done pretty good color commentary work on NXT. Do we give more of a female flavor in those departments as well?
Yeah, I think it would be kind of odd to have an all-men's commentary team on an all-women's pay-per-view, but
sure.
But they haven't really groomed anyone in that position. They had Beth Phoenix with the Mixed Match Challenge kind of coming cold. She didn't get the greatest reviews, with her work, but so I think a 3-woman commentary booth would probably not work. But you could easily have two guys or one guy and Renee Young or Beth Phoenix with Michael Cole or something like that.
Yeah, I think as long as you have a female on a 3-person team, that's important. WWE. Running WWE shows can be a pretty complex thing. That's why right now it's Michael Cole, and then it's Tom Phillips, and then 205 Live, it's Vic. It takes a lot to really run the shows the way they do. So I don't think you're going to get anybody new in terms of that number 1 play-by-play lead position. And then I could see Corey Graves. Corey Graves just seems to be so reliable. And then I think a 3rd person would be good, whether it's Renee Young or whether maybe they rotate the 3rd person. I don't know, but yeah, I think you have to have a woman, a woman's voice on the commentary team. But I think you also have to just go with who can run a live WWE show, and obviously there's only a few of those people that they trust to do that.
Right, absolutely. But it should be a cool event. I'm looking forward to it. I hope I hope Trish will wrestle again. I'd like to see them mix up some of the past superstars with the current talent, just because I feel like none of the storylines as they are right now are that strong. Obviously Ronda Rousey will have a big match at the show, but outside of that, there's and granted we're still a few months away, so who knows who will be champions. But if it's Alexa Bliss and Carmella, it's not like those title matches are going to knock anyone dead.
Well, there's so many things that couldn't be done. That can. If it's going to be a 4-hour show, as the rest of these network pay-per-views are, you could have things that are just one-offs that aren't storyline related, like a Trish novelty act, if she feels that she can still go. There's so many things that could be done for it. I mean, obviously, I think it is probably pretty obvious to think that Ronda Rousey, whether she's champion by that point or whether that's where she becomes champion, I think those are, I think it's either her first title defense potentially, or that's where she becomes champion. Obviously, that's all going to be depending on how SummerSlam shakes out. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely you could do a lot of things. Again, if you have 4 hours to work with, they could really get creative in terms of what kind of matches and whether or not it's storyline related or not. I mean, who knows? Glow season 2 is getting great reviews on Netflix. They could have Glow do a crossover, and I'm not really exaggerating.
They actually could, yeah, absolutely.
So it's
have them make an appearance. They've done stuff with WWE in the past, But,
yeah, they were just backstage a few weeks ago, so yeah. Absolutely. I mean, anything could be possible here. All right, so that was the big thing, and of course they're going to recap that the rest of the night. That is the theme, and even other people in their promos. I think Roman Reigns referenced it in his promo backstage, hyping his match about how tonight's a night of first, and he's going to beat Bobby Lashley. So they did not stray away from the fact that this was the lead from Monday Night Raw. Moving in,
and one interesting thing was that they had Triple H out there as well. They usually don't have him out for these company announcements, in the ring. They'll do it for NXT on conference calls and for NXT, but not on WWE television. So I wonder if they just expected Stephanie to get some heat, just for how strong they come at the crowd with some of this stuff. So I wonder if he was there to kind of dissipate that a little bit.
Well, and it goes back to the thing. Look, I'm a overall a fan of Triple H and Stephanie, but I mean it's hard to not point out obviously the odd dynamic, which is not new, but it's the fact of here's Stephanie. It's her first appearance on Raw, I think since the night after Mania, maybe when Ronda beat her up. I think this is the first time, and of course in the time since then we haven't seen her on Raw, but of course she's named Corbin as Constable Corbin to straighten up Kurt Angle's act. So I mean, again, all the heel antics, but then wanting to have her out there to do the make good for PR. So
and just constantly taking credit for the stuff they're doing with the women. I think it's great that they're doing it, but it can come across as just a little thick sometimes.
Yeah. It is what it is, but who's going to tell her otherwise? Nonetheless, though.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if the UFC was doing that with when Ronda Rousey, got in the main event? It wasn't just this constant PR campaign of look at what you fans, demanded and this and that. It was no, we're just doing it. She's in the main event. It is historic, but we're not, we're not just belaboring the fact, and we move on.
Well, we're talking about Stephanie. Who knows? Again, depending on what happens at SummerSlam with Ronda Rousey, it's again not an exaggeration of a hypothetical that Stephanie McMahon has a match.
Maybe probably the main event against Ronda Rousey.
Right, because I mean, they haven't had a one-on-one. Ronda certainly, she's settled. She's continuing to settle in. So that's again. That could be Ronda's first title defense. Stephanie could be so mad that Ronda Rousey's the champion in storyline, and she decides that she's going to be, very Vince Austin-like. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I feel like you almost got to have Ronda win at SummerSlam, because otherwise that's 2 title shots in a row, regardless of if she wins by DQ or whatever. It does create that that you can't win the big one feeling, and that's not what you want on her. So I'm sure she's beating Alexa for the title now, and it's just what you do after that. And I could totally see Stephanie for sure.
Yeah, well, we talk about winning the big one. The B team, defending tag team champions, and as they come to the ring, I don't remember who it was on commentary saying, certainly this has to be almost impossible for them to defend the titles now that they're the hunted, now that they're on top of the mountain. But sure enough, with the miscommunication between Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, Axel and Dallas win, retain the tag titles. It looks like there's going to be the handshake at the end, but then Hardy and Wyatt both hit their finishers on them. If it was supposed to be some type of heel turn, it was not received that way. The crowd popped as the two guys hit their poses, and that was the end of the segment. Raj, what's going on here? I mean, WWE seems like they're trying to solidify the B team. Granted, their wins are all because of Hardy Wyatt miscommunications, but I mean, this isn't like something where they just won and then 24 hours later they drop it. I mean, they've been champions now for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they've been kind of teasing them splitting up, on social media and everything, and I just don't know where you go with them. as a tag team, they feel like, I'm talking about Bray and Matt, I just feel like they feel done. They feel outdated, like it's run its course. I don't want to see them feud again. I don't know about you. They just seem kind of stuck in this rut where they don't know what to do with either of them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they stick around as a team a little longer, probably have a 3-way at SummerSlam with the B team and maybe the Revival. They've been hinting at the Revival. So I could see them going that direction and then maybe do the angle at SummerSlam where they finally split off and go in their separate directions.
Yeah, head-scratching situation with the tag division and Raw, because you have this, as we say, stuck in a rut. Granted, again, the B team are tag champions, but it still seems like it's a bit of a in neutral, running in place type of situation. But then you have the Revival, as you said, who they tease, who are constantly watching the monitors backstage. Then you have the Authors of Pain, who are finally back to getting weekly momentum, and they're just continuing to drum on Titus worldwide. It's a very bizarre tag division as we're heading into the second biggest show of the year.
Yeah, I always hate when they continue feuds after you've already done a couple squashes, not even competitive matches, but squashes like they've done with AOP and Titus Worldwide. So, I mean, they clearly have nothing for them. They got so much talent that's not being utilized that they could bring into the tag division, even if it's just random tag teams. I mean, they had Chad Gable and No Way Jose teaming on Main Event.
So we have, is he here? Yep. Mr. Matt Morgan.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
Good.
Matt, if you're just jumping in here, we got just through about the first half hour or so of Raw, but let's go back real quick to what is the top story, and it was the theme of all night. Are you excited for Evolution, first ever WWE all-women's pay-per-view?
I thought that was really, honestly, I kept thinking, like, what deserves this kind of build-up, this kind of hype? I kept thinking it would have something to do with Hogan. It would be just this gigantic, but then I was like, that's not even big enough for the way they're handling this. And when Triple H kept crying, I'm like, it's going to be the girls, but what's it going to be? And then when it's like an all-girl pay-per-view, I'm like, I'm not like we're not shocked by this. Like, this is where they're at now. They shouldn't be at this point in the game continually getting pats on the back for this, because the girls got them there. Let's be clear about this. The talent got them to this point, but like they keep patting themselves on the back for it, and it's over gratuitous on their part.
Do you think it would?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, Matt, I was going to ask you, do you think it would have been better off if they would have not done the big 10-minute, build up and just kind of said, look, we have a new pay-per-view and here's what it is? Do you think that would be almost a little bit more respectable? Like, this is just where we're at. We don't need to make a big to-do about the girls having the first ever.
Yes, I do. I do. And it was cool when they made the introductions and they brought the NXT girls up and they did it that way. They broke the third wall doing it. That was cool because they didn't have set angles yet. They didn't have set opponents and stuff like that. All the girls were up there hand-holding and singing Kumbaya again. And it's corny.
Yeah, my point, I was saying pretty much the exact same thing, Matt. And like how UFC handled Ronda Rousey's debut. They weren't just patting themselves on the back constantly. They just booked the fight and they, treated it like every other fight. And it wasn't a constant, reminding of we've come so far and the fans, are demanding women's fighting and this and that. They just did it, and they were the WWE is way behind UFC when it comes to that. It's not like everything is some big media publicity, thing.
They do this with everything. Everything is a big announcement after they're 5 years past the point. Like Daniel Bryan's push, if you remember, they all got behind it like when they had no choice, like 7 months to a year after the fact, and they try to act like, look what we're doing here. We're now pushing younger, faster superstars. And they were like patting themselves on the back in every interview they were doing around that time, if you remember, especially after his Mania win. And it's like, number one, you guys are Johnny come lately. Number two, stop patting yourselves on the back by saying you're giving the fans what they want. You didn't do that when you turned Rock heel, right? And then he blew up into this megastar. When he became a babyface and got super over, right? You didn't stop him in the middle of one of his promos and go out there and say, you see this guy out here? We're responsible for him because we listened to you guys. You wanted us to turn him heel. We did. We brought him back to you as a bigger, stronger babyface because we're listening to you, the fans. It's so patronizing.
Yeah, that's a perfect word for it.
I think and Matt kind of just said it with the kumbaya. I think my biggest thing, I understand they're going to make a big PR announcement by having Triple H and Stephanie out there, and in this case Vince. I get all that, but I think what throws me over the edge is do it UFC style or anything else, any other combat sport. When you make the announcement, I saw Carmelo on the stage, Bliss is out there. Have the champions, push the girls aside and put the belts up, yeah, we made this happen, and have a little pushing and shoving. Don't have the hugs and cries and kisses. Let the girls start getting at it, saying, I'm going to be the main event of this first show.
Yeah, have them brawling or something, not just hugging and crying. Make it feel like something you want to see these matches. You want to see them wrestle, not you're just watching it because it's the first. And
Ronda Rousey wasn't hugging her UFC opponents at the press conference.
No, they weren't just talking about how they're making history. They were talking about how they're going to get in the cage and beat each other up.
And they could have given us this on the network. That's what you have the network for. You can do whatever the hell you damn well please. It's your network. So if you want to do the shoot angle about everyone's reaction, doing jumping jacks with each other, high-fiving each other, then do that shit on the network. But on your broadcast flagship show that we're supposed to emotionally get invested in, that we're supposed to be paying money for your network to see these angles get resolved via a pay-per-view, right? That should be their goal, getting us to join the network. Don't bastardize your angles for these moments.
Yeah.
Now, how do I unsee all of that?
Live TV, you can't unsee it.
But the event itself, obviously, it's a cool deal. It'll be cool to see. Now, hopefully, they start giving these women real storylines, because the matches we saw tonight were just thrown together. Just how many times have we seen Ember Moon and Liv Morgan now? That's been like the last month.
Listen, Raj, we're way ahead of them, by the way. We're saying F the pay-per-view. We're saying they need their own show. So we're past the pay-per-view, and they should be in the territory of threading their own female show at this point. That's how much talent they have to pull it off, in my opinion. All of our opinion. We've all said it. So now we've got to wait for that. That's going to be the next big one. And they're going to shut the damn show down for 45 minutes for that. It's annoying. I was annoyed by that. I swear to God, I was annoyed. And I go, well, I don't like to fast forward because I feel like I'm cheating the viewers that watch our show by saying I see everything that happens in these shows. And I said, you know what? F this. This is ridiculous. So I fast forwarded to get to the point of what the freaking announcement was already, because they kept babbling and babbling and babbling. And then they just kept going on and on.
Yeah, and then it was brought up after every segment, pretty much.
Oh, God, yeah.
Matt Morgan is hot, ladies and gentlemen.
Because it's so patronizing. How do they not see this is like 2 steps back? This should be expected. This is where the girls are at. This is what the girls have brought them to.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. Not by their opportunity they presented the talent. No, the talent is nasty. They're good as hell. And they've got them to the dance. These NXT girls brought them to the dance, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would
big part.
I'd much rather have it that they had like a women's feud that was so heated that they're like, we're gonna, with this match and these matches, we're gonna do an all women's pay-per-view, and that's it. Not this big like Stephanie created it and now you girls get to be a part of it. You deserve it, but you're coming on this thing that I'm responsible for. But anyway,
put it on the network like they always do. I would have been cool with that.
Yeah.
Last question, and then we'll move off of this. Why do you think Vince? Do you think they had Vince out there to just kind of add the credibility to it? Because we've seen Stephanie and Triple H do many announcements before for the women, but this is the first one I can recall they've had Vince out there too. Granted, he didn't really say anything, but is it a credibility factor? Is that what it is?
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure, but I think Triple H too. They usually don't have Triple H for the women, right?
Yeah, it's mostly been Stephanie, I think.
Yeah, it's been just Stephanie
for Rumbles and Hell in a Cells and everything else. So. Well, October 28th, like I said, Nassau Coliseum in New York. That will be Evolution, the first ever women's pay-per-view. For those who are curious, tickets do go on sale August 24th at 10 a.m. if you'd like to be in attendance for the history making. Matt, we just were finishing up on it right when you came in. I'll just get your thoughts real quick. More of the same. The B team, the defending tag team champions, beat Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy once again because of another Wyatt-Hardy miscommunication, and then Hardy and Wyatt given the finishers after the match. Seems like the tag division is kind of stuck in neutral right now on Raw.
Kinda. Yeah. I mean, no offense, look who your tag champions are. It's happy for the B team, again, privately, personally, right? But tag division is horrible. It's just I don't even like talking about it. It's such a waste, and I don't like to discredit the talent. It's just WWE standards and what they think of the tag division.
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on. We get to the backstage and we see Finn Balor, and this another one of those great backstage segments. Finn being told by Constable Corbin that he has his own locker room, and it is a little fun house, a little red fun house, and they do some back and forth about Constable's always want to have his own fun house, or Finn's always wanted to have his own fun house, and blah blah blah. Corbin storms off, of course, tells him he has a match with Drew McIntyre. This segment really, this is another one of those segments where I was hoping nobody walks in the room.
It's like WWE. It feels like they forgot how to make feuds, like getting people heated and angry at each other. You know, Baron Corbin does this. Finn Balor just laughs and like, hey, that's a good idea. Does that make you want to see Finn Balor get his revenge? Does that make you want to see these two go at it? Not at all.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think, and this is going to be a crazy question I'm asking for the record, this doesn't mean what I'm thinking, by the way. I'm wondering if they're thinking it. Do you guys think in 2018, we're now past the point where people need to suspend their disbelief to emotionally invest in wrestling versus fans now watching it and emotionally investing on the shoot aspect of it, the who the talent really is, the move sets they're doing in the matches. You know, I was watching some Ring of Honor stuff, and I was watching what the fans were responding to. You know, and I don't necessarily think it's storylines.
No, I agree. I feel like it's less storyline than ever before. It's less storyline. It's less character. It's less superstar. It's more.
Pick up on that? Do you think WWE's picked up on that, Raj? Do you think that's what they're doing?
It's definitely a big difference from where they were 10 years ago. Definitely 20, but 10, where it was a really star-driven commodity, and then when it shifted from stars to the brand, and then just keeping everything watered down. You get what you get. You just get redundancy. It's the wrestling's better than ever. The actual in-ring is better than it's ever been. But when you have 8 hours of that a week, you want more to get you excited about these matches, not just that these guys are going to have a good match.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just going to say, I think WWE is tasked with having more programming than ever. So I think whether you want to call it lazy or whether you want to call it, oh, we can just serve this master over here, I do think there's a case of there's an elk of fans that just care about the moves and just care about who can do the coolest moves, who can have the coolest match in terms of that, on that basis. So I think that there is something where it's like, okay, we can just say, haha, Finn, you're short compared to Corbin, and we're going to put you in matches, and people will enjoy watching them. And then I think there's another portion that does get invested in storylines, but I think that portion doesn't speak up. I think the people that get invested in the Roman Reigns or even Brock Lesnar's, they're not the ones that are as vocal with feedback. They kind of watch it and they move on and they tune in next week. But it's those who voice their opinions the most are the ones who want to see really good work rate matches. And I think WWE's fallen into trying to say, okay, we're just going to go ahead and serve that week in, week out, because that's the easiest thing to do. We'll do the Brock Lesnar's and the bigger storylines on a more
storyline driven.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I'm hoping for. I hope that they have given up on this. So then by maybe 5 to 10 years and they realize this doesn't work and it fails, that before this happens, they'll fire all the writers, because what do they need writers for? If they're not writing storylines and they're not going storylines anymore, what do we need them for? We don't. And then the boys start getting together and then start creating their own stuff. Like used to happen. You'd have a booker, but the guys would get together and create their own matches and what they wanted to do with it, get with the booker, how long are we going? Is it 6 months, 8 months? And then work on an arc from there. And the guys would be a lot more included in their own stuff versus 55 writers that can't write. That's the thing I don't get. They have so many writers.
And it's the same thing every week. We're like half of these segments we're talking about is just you just move pieces around a little bit, change the winner. You're having the same matches week in, week out, or the same people involved. Not doing any big swerves, not any twists. It's just kind of, Titus Worldwide gets squashed 2 weeks, but they still keep facing the same guys, for whatever reason. And it just that's what happens when you're the only big game in town.
Rod or Matt, I think the problem that we'll always have with preventing them from going back to that old school kind of style is the fact that because the company's so big and there's so many motives and there's okay, we gotta protect this sponsorship, or the USA Network wants to see this. I think there's so many things that we don't know about. The writers are almost babysitters. The writers are there to kind of, okay, what are you saying? You can't quite say that in this kind of a promo. I think that would be the problem of letting wrestlers have more control like they used to. Granted, it'll probably be better quality stuff, but it'll take one time for a wrestler, for them to come up with something that's going to somehow go and break some rule that the company has at that point. And I don't see Vince or the company releasing that kind of control with how big it is, how corporate it is.
Yeah, they definitely want their own. They don't want any big risks or anything, right? They want to maintain what they're at. They're making tons and tons of money, more money than ever before with these TV rights deals, even though they're the least popular. Wrestling is the least popular that it's been in my lifetime right now, in a lot of ways, even though it gets the most mainstream media attention, more than it ever has, since I've been a kid.
Bro, you think more so than 95, 94, 95?
You mean like 98 with the Attitude Era in WCW?
Before that hit.
Yeah.
Before that hit.
I mean, WrestleMania 1, when they were doing the stuff with MTV and Mr. T, it was getting a lot. But you didn't see mainstream media stories as much. Hogan was on Sports Illustrated, but it wasn't like all the time. But it was a different medium then. WWE isn't in ESPN, the magazine, but they're on ESPN.com.
It's all relative. WWF back then was on MT freaking V.
Yeah.
Guest VJs.
It was a huge deal.
That was a huge deal. But what I'm saying is the dead period of wrestling, I thought, was 94, 95. You think today's worse than that?
Yeah, because at least you still had two companies, and combined, they had more viewers than you have now. I mean, Raw's ratings last week were the lowest ever. And that's during the dead period, 94, 95, when you had.
What were they getting then?
So they were doing like low twos, but you also had WCW, that was doing twos as well on Saturday night.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watched both, so I mean, yeah. I just remember in high school, I'd get made fun of for wearing an Undertaker shirt, for instance.
Yeah.
My girls and stuff. There's like 2 or 3 year window.
Yeah, it was like 93 to 96. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like the only one of my friends that would like publicly still say he liked wrestling.
Right.
Well,
that was when you started getting the Salvatore Sincers and all those crazy TL Hopper.
Well, Raj, while last week's Raw was not good, I mean, also comparing the ratings now to 94, 95, I mean, also just today, people have so many different ways they watch I don't know how accurate those ratings really are to judge today compared to then. But there's going
to be some of that, but the rating is based on the percentage of households, right? Like I'm not talking just viewership, but the rating itself is based on how many people get that channel, and that includes streaming and everything. Now, it doesn't include illegal downloads.
Yeah.
But
plus, we said popularity too.
Yeah, and you could just see it in the crowds. Remember when you'd go to their shows back then? Those crowds would be crazy, and now you get a hot crowd here and there. And they're usually dead by the end until the main event. And I just mean pro wrestling in general, not just WWE, but because, yes, maybe the numbers are a little higher now than they were back then just for WWE, but you had WCW back then that, was driving millions of viewers a week as well.
Do you think it was just inevitable that this would happen because we let the cat out of the bag? And that it's sports entertainment, this is a work, we opened the curtain up. I mean, because at first you did show some shoot aspect. A lot of shoot names. We used Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. When we first came, pulled the cat out of the bag, if you will, about the truth of wrestling, right? So we could talk in shoot terms and book in shoot terms of what appeared to be a shoot. What else could you possibly do, though, other than that, once the cat's out of the bag?
Yeah, but the hottest era was like 98 to 2000 when everyone knew it was a work then, right?
That's what I'm saying. You're not listening. So, like, what I'm saying is, they created it like with a shoot. They're using shoot names. They let the cat out of the bag that this is a work, but fans were so drawn to that and going online and finding out the backstage gossip and then watching the matches at night. I don't necessarily think they were watching the matches as much because they were into the match versus I know this dude's story now. I know this was Stunning Steve Austin, who got the shit end of the stick. Went to ECW, did okay. Started to get better on the mic. Now he's here in WWF. I want to see this guy do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that only lasts so long, is what I'm saying. I wonder the window of opportunity for fans to pop for the shoot aspect of the worked environment was only going to have a very short shelf life. And now, where do you go?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did, like the storylines and everything. See, I don't know if it's necessarily the shoot aspect, because the NWO versus WCW, if you're looking at it realistically, it was ridiculous that these 5 guys could hold off, like, you know, a locker room of 60 guys, but it felt real. Like the emotion felt real.
They just pulled the cat out of the bag is what I'm saying. They just informed us all this is a work. So now when they're saying, I'm not the Giant, I'm Paul White. Oh, shit, did you hear that? He's using his real name. This shit must be real. This one scene, this one angle that he's doing. And I'm saying that has a short shelf life. And we saw it. It was up in 04 or whenever, 03.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point, but I also think I think the scripting nowadays is so contrived that it's not even letting the cat out of the bag. I think it's just gotten so far away from that it's so corny, and these feuds starting on Twitter and these lame jokes, and it's just constant week in, week out, that it's hard for, especially an adult, to get into this kind of stuff when no real human being would really get upset over this, like the Finn Balor stuff. Which takes us back to Raw.
Well, back to Raw. Our next conflict is we get Sasha Banks and Bayley, who are going to be a tag team here, and they go up against 2 enhancement talents, Samantha Simon and Karen Lundy, if anybody cares. Sasha Banks and Bayley get the win. Sasha's music hits. They hug in the middle of the ring. All is right with the world.
Were you expecting Sasha to just nail Bayley when they were doing that hug at the end?
Yeah, I think everybody was, right?
I was.
Yeah, so I don't know. Again, SummerSlam, a month away, all women's show, a couple months away. We still have to get the payoff of this Sasha Bayley stuff. Of course, the counseling they did. So we wait another week to see the epic story continue. We get Elias for his first of many appearances on the stage with his guitar. They tout about his debut album, his EP, that came out today, and is legitimately shooting up the iTunes charts. Matt Morgan, have you downloaded the Walk with Elias?
No, hell no.
It's actually not bad. It's kind of funny.
You listened to it?
I did.
Is it like how many tracks? Is it like a full?
It's 4 tracks. It's 4 tracks. It's 4 tracks. They're all. I would almost say it's kind of like a weird. It's almost like a Weird Al Yankovic thing in terms of like it's all him in the character of Elias. Like one song is him singing about all the cities that he hates and can't find a good crowd. Another one is him like talking about like walk with him. But like they're all in the phrasing of his character. But like they don't sound bad. They sound like it's him singing. It actually sounds like a legit. Like you can tell it was done in a good studio and mixed by professionals. It sounds very legitimate. But if you're a fan of the Elias shtick, it's just 4 tracks you can kind of laugh at, but it does have like some good guitar, and I don't know. It's kind of it's one of those weird wrestling things that it's just stuck, and wrestling fans have banded together, and it's rising up the iTunes charts.
Is it on Spotify? Do you know?
It's on Spotify. Didn't you hear the 4 different plugs tonight? It's on iTunes and Spotify.
yeah. I'll check that out then. I got a Spotify.
It's like $2.99 to buy the whole thing. So
I don't think I'd pay $2.99 for an Elias album.
Do it. You can write it off. What are you talking about?
Still.
All right. So Elias gets interrupted by Braun Strowman. He is the monster in the bank. He comes out, basically talks about how he's going to call his shot eventually. So forget Roman Reigns, forget Bobby Lashley. Kevin Owens comes out. He and Owens go back and forth. And this kind of actually is going to end up leading to a match that they will make a little bit. Well, Jinder Mahal comes out first, but whatever. It's stupid. Jinder Mahal trying to calm his anger. But I want to get to the real point of this, which is they end up having a backstage segment where they have announced that Kevin Owens is going to fight Braun Strowman at SummerSlam. But if Owens wins, doesn't matter, pinfall, submission, countout, whatever. If he wins, that he will get the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, it makes it interesting, but I do have a little bit of that fear of like, God, I hope they don't. They can't dare pull it off Braun, can they?
No.
Okay.
No way. And they're not having Braun lose at 2 pay-per-views in a row either, even though, the last one was, technicality. He destroyed the guy. But, yeah, he's not losing it. I actually thought that was – I kind of saw them going that way because there's no you're not believing Owens versus Strowman at this point with how bad he's killed him. So by putting that stip in there, at least it does something.
We stopped believing in that when he was running away from him and hiding in broom closets.
Yes.
The first night of their angle is when we stopped believing.
He's done nothing so far. They've done nothing to make it look like Owens can get the better of Strowman in any situation.
It's just so funny what a departure it is from. And I love Kay. It was my second favorite guy to watch. But what a departure from him bombing, coming in there and bombing the hell out of John Cena, stepping on the title, holding his NXT championship high above his head, and talking shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Up next, we have Mickie James versus Natalya. Of course, they're touting these two girls, these two ladies, rather, being obviously veterans, being a big part of paving the way for the revolution that's leading to evolution. Mickie James versus Natalya, a good match, as you'd expect between these two. Mickie James does get the win. Alexa Bliss, of course, got involved as well. They mentioned again a couple times about how Natalya, her relationship with Ronda Rousey, how she even helps train her. I guess we talk about earlier with Sasha and Bayley. This is the heel turn I'm waiting, is for Ronda Rousey to eventually win the title and for Natalya to immediately stab her in the back, right? I mean, that's got to be inevitable for a Natalya-Ronda Rousey feud, I would think.
Yeah, maybe SummerSlam.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we were saying how we could see them, Matt, before you came on, we were talking about how we could see them doing Stephanie versus Rousey at this at the Evolution pay-per-view, but I think Rousey versus Natalya would be a lot better.
Oh, the match itself would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think Ronda's really good, though, but I don't know if they would put her in that predicament yet, where she would be expected to lead Stephanie through a match without, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think the crazy thing is the marquee, it would sell better if it was versus Stephanie, obviously, but the match itself will be outstanding with Natalya, because Natalya is so. Yeah, and so is Ronda, man. Ronda's got to get her props. She's gotten so good.
Yeah.
Elias tries to do another plug on the stage, this time interrupted by the Authors of Pain. They cut to commercial break, come back, Authors of Pain in the ring with microphones, and this was short but still painful. Certainly reminds you that they had a mouthpiece in Paul Ellering for all the time in NXT. Now they don't. Basically, they said they want some competition, anybody except for Titus Worldwide, so Titus Worldwide comes out. Titus and Apollo Crews.
No one in the crowd cared for any of this.
No. Yeah, Apollo Crews is praising Titus for being, great in his community, a great dad, talking about how you can't just be strong physically. That's you gotta. It takes more to make it on the WWE RAW roster. And then everybody starts. So they all start brawling. So it looks like we are going to continue. Maybe I don't know if they're building through a pre-show SummerSlam match or what the deal is, but they are not giving up on this for right now. So again, more rut of the attack, which is, again, it's a shame. I mean, you look at the Authors of Pain; they got a great look. Unique names, good look. They pretty good in the ring, minus the lackluster finisher that they do. But this is what WWE is giving them right now, is Titus Worldwide, which unfortunately, the people just really don't get behind.
I thought this was painful. I thought the whole thing was. I mean, their promos were terrible. They need a mouthpiece bad. I don't know why WWE they got so much in their head that they're not going to use managers. And fine, if the word manager is outdated, who cares? But it can work, and that's definitely a team that could use it, because they're physically imposing. They got the presence. That's what they're missing.
Okay, and they don't have anybody to go against anyway. It's even if they did have all that, it don't matter. There's no one to go against in that shit division.
Yeah. Braun is kind of in that pattern too. They keep throwing Kevin Owens at him, but no one sees Owens as a credible threat to Strowman, and so they don't really have.
We got Bobby out there. We have Roman out there. We have Seth out there. We have some. You don't have to match them strength for strength. I'm saying, but like in the tag division, there is nobody.
Yeah. Well, Drew and Dolph, if they pushed them as a team.
I take that back. Yes, those two.
Yeah, I mean, Drew and Dolph, I think, would be formidable, but they seem like they're more focused on. They remind us that those two are watching each other's back.
They're Shawn and Diesel.
I like it.
That's everybody's comparison. Is the Shawn and Diesel.
They were going to be a tag team, a legit tag team, if you remember. So I'm glad they're not.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, two guys that were both in tag teams, but right now are on the singles run by themselves. Tyler Breeze because of Fandango's injury, and then Mojo Rawley, who's now on a singles heel run. They have another match. This match is going on. Mojo in control for the most part, very intense. They cut to a interview in the middle of the match with Michael Cole interviewing Bobby Roode from backstage. So it looks like they're setting Bobby Roode up for Mojo Rawley here. Mojo getting another win, by the way. Matt, you can speak intelligently on Bobby Roode. Do you agree with Bobby Roode, the veteran, being a guy that looks like he's going to set up and put over Mojo Rawley?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people, I guess, the common thing would be, okay, Bobby Roode, maybe they want to see him go for a title, or they want to see him work higher in the car. But it looks like they're going to have him go up against a Mojo Rawley again, and this be Mojo's first credible opponent as a heel in a singles run.
Yeah, you would think, obviously, months ago we thought this, right? It's just, I don't know. I don't know why they keep jamming this square in the circle hole. I don't know. I don't know. I have no answer for it. I don't get it. Bobby should be a semi-main event heel. Okay, that could do a lot. Like what we're seeing with Dolph. I'm telling you guys, they're gonna think I'm crazy. Bobby Roode can do if he was a heel.
Oh yeah,
right now.
And actually, if it was like Bobby and Drew, I feel like that'd be a better pairing in a lot of ways, just because so much of Dolph's credibility has been killed over the last 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, what they're doing with Bobby, and I look at him, and look at him doing this promo during this match. It looks like they just sucked the specialness that he had, just a year ago. All the star qualities. It's like they're sucking it out of him, and it's like, why do that?
I don't get it. It's not like he's coming in. He's not like he's using his TNA gimmick. You know what I mean? This was a WWE created gimmick and character from NXT. So, like, I don't understand the need to break. The excuse used to be, we need to test. We need to build them. We need to break them down to build them back up and form them in the WWE. Vince has to make you a creature of his own, a creation of his own. No matter where you came from or how good you are. And those days are long gone. So I don't understand this.
Bless you. All right, another attempt at an Elias concert.
Mute that.
Elias says he's sick and tired of being interrupted, so the music hits and he's interrupted by Finn Balor. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Of course, good match again between these two guys. Very talented, cool. Drew McIntyre just continues. I know we've said this over and over, but it's worth repeating. And the commentators are buying into it too, which is nice. How they keep saying Drew's back. He's with a purpose. He's using everybody as a stepping stone, and his performance, bell to bell, just on point. He's in phenomenal shape. Good match here between he and Finn. Ziggler gets involved, ultimately right in front of the referee, and we get Finn with the win by DQ, which ultimately is going to set up by Kurt Angle a tag match as Seth Rollins comes out to help. So then we get Finn and Seth versus Drew and Dolph Ziggler. Big tag match here, multiple segments for these guys to occupy some time.
Great action, man. This was a great match. I love it.
Yeah. Seth and Finn get the win, and Raj, they ended up making an official SummerSlam match out of this, correct?
Yep. So it'll be Drew and Seth again. I mean, Dolph and Seth again. So I just feel like Seth should be higher. I think he's the hottest guy in the company right now in a lot of ways. I know. I mean, look, they got the thing. It's going to be Roman. The whole storyline's him beating Brock, and they're sticking with it. And there's nothing that can be done, but it's one of those times where I felt like they should call an audible and had it be, Seth and Brock, and Seth being the one to beat Brock. You talk about the size differences and stuff like that. Seth has that credibility where you could buy him beating a Brock. He would be the underdog. You might not expect it, but it's not like, I feel like Brock against someone like Finn seems a little too much of a stretch, but Seth not so much in my opinion. And I think that would be such a big moment if he won. And going back to where my original booking idea was having Roman Reigns winning Money in the Bank and then Reigns cashing in on Rollins, I think that all would have been a perfect setup.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But we're too far from that.
Too far gone.
But so Rollins and Dolph again at SummerSlam.
You think the Brooklyn crowd will treat them nicer than what the Pittsburgh crowd did?
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
As long as they don't put a clock on the screen.
Yeah, I mean Seth's still pretty. I think he did an interview. I think it was Lillian Garcia's podcast. I know the quotes are up on Wrestling Inc. And he's still a little bit kind of ticked by that. He's like
Dolph was really upset.
Yeah. I mean, as they should, but Seth's saying he goes, he doesn't understand how people why they would want to pay money to come see something and just completely,
and not watch the match. You're not into the match.
It's our but it's our money. We can do what we want with our money. I don't care. Shut up.
And that's horse crap too. You can't go to you're not going to a football game and throwing a beach ball around and not get kicked out.
Bro, exactly. It's the same. It's like people use free, after somebody says something insane, they start defending their right to free speech. You know what I mean? That's like their BS defense of it. It's like with this, that's their built-in excuse for being shitty fans.
Well, and that excuse makes them sound really ridiculous. Like, it's your money, you can do what you want. So how ridiculous does it make you sound that you spend $200 or whatever it is for some of these tickets for some of these bigger shows to purposely be like that? Makes you just.
It gets even better because the argument turns into this, which is even worse on their end, in my opinion. Well, give us something for us not to throw a beach ball around with. If you had Cesaro working in the main event, then that would be the next thing. So then my answer to that would be, then why are you there? Because that's not who was in the main event.
And not to mention, isn't Rollins and Ziggler like perfect for that crowd? Isn't that the kind of stuff that?
Yes, they are.
Well, and take it even a step further, going back to Extreme Rules in Pittsburgh was, I can tell you that from being, here and being around fans all that day, that fans they did not want to see. They were going to riot if Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley ended the night. Well, guess what? WWE ended up. It seems like switching it, and they put Roman and Bobby on earlier, and they gave you the work rate. They gave you the 30-minute classic between Dolph and Seth, and then people just wanted to count down the clock.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. I don't know if there is any making them happy.
It depends which crowd. Like not all crowds. Some of the crowds are great, but I think last week's Raw crowd was really good, right? If I'm recalling correctly.
Whose hometown were they in?
What's that?
Out of the three of us, whose hometown was this?
What, tonight or
the fans that we're talking about from was it last week or the week before?
That's Justin's crew at Extreme
Rules.
That's
where I live. That's where I live. Don't.
Sweet fans.
I don't say. Hey, I was paying attention. I wasn't counting down. All right, Bobby Lashley gets the backstage promo. He drops the no sleep till Brooklyn line. He's on his way. He wants to get his way to SummerSlam to face Brock Lesnar. We get the recap of the WWE Evolution pay-per-view announcement again, and then we get Ember Moon versus Liv Morgan. Again, another good showing by Ember Moon, but again, as we said earlier, just another rinse repeat type of situation here. Ember Moon gets the win. So nothing really.
Just complete time fill. And if you're scripted sports, like if you're UFC, right, and you're scripting, WWE is you're scripting conflict and fighting in sports. Do you just have the same person keep wrestling somebody if they beat them every time? Like, is UFC going to keep booking the same fight over and over if one person keeps winning and quick? Like what sense? This is like the third or fourth time that Ember Moon has beaten Liv Morgan in like the last month and a half.
I got nothing for that. That really is the point.
Yeah. It's frustrating. Again, in the same show where the theme is we've moved so far with the women. Okay, so no, they're not getting 30-second matches anymore, but they're getting the same 5-minute match every week now. Ember Moon beating Liv Morgan. So they do a bunch of hype. They show they do a Mission Impossible crossover thing. They do a Bella Twins on Jimmy Fallon, all this stuff promoting all the outside endeavors. We get to Elias one more time on the stage with the guitar. Kurt Angle interrupts him, but then he says he's going to give Elias the floor. Let Elias play. Let him play some of his new songs. He starts to play, knocks the people of Cincinnati. And then out comes Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley interrupts. So it's like the fourth interruption. They make a point to show on camera Elias really frustrated and walking off stage. I don't know about you guys, but it kind of, to me, made me think, okay, Elias has got to come back out and maybe get involved. But that never happens. We get Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns. Good match between these two. The Cincinnati crowd, they were not as rude as Pittsburgh was. They kind of played along and got into this match. A couple near falls, some good false finishes towards the end with the spears and Superman punch. Overall, though, Roman Reigns wins, and this surprises me because I actually thought when they made all the stipulation last week, I thought it was going to be Bobby Lashley. I thought it was going to be him versus Brock Lesnar.
I think it's too early to be beating Bobby, and I don't care who it is.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured it would be. I kind of figured it would be Roman, because that's the story they're dying to tell, is that Roman finally beats Brock. They put so much equity in Brock with all the wins that he got, ending Taker's streak, and they want all of that to go to somebody. And I guess, and Roman's the guy. And I was saying it last week. I'm sure Roman was going to win, but I think Lashley. You set up more cooler storyline possibilities if you have Lashley just destroy Lesnar too. Win here again, destroy Lesnar. Then you got this really, really huge badass. And you got kind of a Lesnar. You're kind of creating a Lesnar that is going to be around every week and be able to defend the title at all the pay-per-views and something special. So I think by beating Lashley, it's not like he's buried or anything like that. But I just think it was too soon. He had kind of an aura about him. And I just don't think they should have done it yet. But I know a lot of people were thinking it might be a triple threat, like they were going to do some sort of,
It's still good, Raj. You can't throw that out yet. It's still good.
I don't see that happening. I think they really want.
If they were going to do it, if they were going to do the triple threat tonight, it would have been the perfect way. I mean, obviously, you could have had
Bobby win
well, you could have had Elias attack both of them. You could have had a draw. You could have Heyman come out. Like, anything could have happened to make a case. But the fact
I'm saying, part of the things that you guys were talking about and having Brock have all these wins, have him run through Cena and just job him out that one time, to have him beat the crap out of Randy Orton for shoot after the match, to have him beat Undertaker, and you say to transfer it on to the next. That's wrestling 101, obviously, is to give the next young one that rub, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other half of that equation is being able to recognize the difference of who to give that to and the right timing for that talent. The right timing was, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago for Roman, a year ago at best. So it's come and gone. It's not the best use of it. It's not them recognizing we have all these, like you said, what's the word you use? Built up for Brock. Equity.
Equity, yeah.
Great word. Equity built up for Brock to give on to someone else. It should, more reason why it needs to be either Braun or Bobby. But Bobby would make sense because now you've got your new Brock, like you said, and you have him simply take Brock out. Brock's exit is Bobby whipping his ass and injuring him and stretchering him out of the company for good.
Yeah, I think that because they're so dead set with, and I agree 100% with you. And like I've been saying, I think Seth is the most over guy. I feel like that would get him to the next level, him beating Brock. But obviously they're not thinking in that direction.
Having Brock beat Undertaker, having Roman beat Brock, two major mistakes they made.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't know. I just think they're doing this in New York. It's like the worst possible crowd to be doing this match where you're doing Roman versus Brock. The fans are going to crap all over this match.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this. So right now what we know is it's Brock versus Roman. Now, as Matt said, we're not there yet, so let's not rule out completely a triple threat that Bobby doesn't get put into. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's not rule it out. So the fact that they're in New York for SummerSlam, and then the next night they're in New York again, and Brock Lesnar is being booked for the night after. So Brock Lesnar is scheduled to be at the Raw the night after SummerSlam. What do you think is the most? What do you think is the most realistic and reasonable situation? Is it Brock Lesnar walking out of SummerSlam and getting cashed in on the next night by a Braun Strowman? Or is it Brock Lesnar dropping the title at SummerSlam and then Braun cashing in somewhere? Like Braun has to play a factor in this. I don't see him carrying this briefcase around for a year.
And is that how Owens maybe beats him to take that away?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. I'm trying to play. I'm playing chess here. I'm trying to figure out where everybody's going. That's what I'm trying to.
I that would be my prediction, is that Roman beats Brock. I feel like they have to have Roman beat Brock because
he needs to win.
They do consider him the top guy, and for him to be beaten over and over, I feel like he does need that win. Then you have Strowman cash in. Strowman wins the title. The next night on, the next night on Raw, Lesnar complains, or Heyman complains. Strowman comes down, just kicks the crap out of Lesnar, and that's his like goodbye. Like he just keeps hitting him with power slam after power slam. Fans are, singing "na na na na," hey hey hey, goodbye, and that's Lesnar's swan song for a while. Because I'm sure he'll be back at some point after he does this UFC fight. You know, if he wins, I'm sure he'll go to John Jones. I'm sure, because there's so much money in that. But you know, he's what, 43 years old, 42.
You think he's gonna beat Daniel Cormier?
I doubt it. No, but no. But if by some chance he did, I mean, he is going to be 60 pounds big. You know, well, maybe not 60. He'll probably be 30 to 40 pounds bigger than Cormier, so he will have that advantage. But I don't see him beating him. But if by some crazy way he did, I would think that he would do another fight.
He would smoke him.
You think Lesnar would smoke Cormier?
If Brock was younger, diverticulitis, yes. Yes.
I don't know. Cormier always had good hands. Like Lesnar, he never had good hands. It was always the wrestling.
You're absolutely right, but Brock never got to put himself 100% immersed into it either. With nothing else, no wrestling, nothing, just MMA. He got to do that like what, a year straight or two, not 10. Yeah. If he was younger and just didn't pro wrestle, just did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, who knows? As we're trying to book SummerSlam, maybe Daniel Cormier is front row at SummerSlam. I mean,
dude, are you shitting me? Guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You know, why not? I don't put anything past it at this point. I mean, with WWE and UFC, we've seen the subtle working together in the past. So
my favorite part is 150-pound little pusses that talk all tough and like, oh, WWE. We don't want to see that WWE crap. And then like Conor McGregor's, the guys that draw money, you're like, well, this is why you have to make money. Shut up.
And you know what? UFC does the WWE crap better than WWE.
100%.
Like the promos that draw money and that get people talking. Like Lesnar, after that Cormier fight, that was so money. And he hasn't done anything like that in WWE in forever.
Who's that?
Lesnar, when, you know, with saying, I'm coming for you, mother. To, you know, Cormier and, you know, calling out the heavyweight division.
The arena into popping for him.
Yeah.
They hate him, but they popped for that because they were like, oh shit, maybe we better cheer.
And then when Cormier came back, and was, you know, Cormier was the ultra babyface and the fans were cheering for him and he got you excited in it. So, really? I mean, they do that better than WWE by far right now.
Matt, have you ever, anywhere in your career, did you ever do any MMA, any cage fighting?
Didn't get good. That didn't get popular. That wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, I love pro wrestling. I love the characters. I love the larger-than-life characters. Back then, there wasn't characters. It was you come out in your trunks, beat the shit out of someone, and leave. Yeah. You know, MMA is different now, but wrestling, I was always attracted to these cartoon characters. You know, the '80s. I love that about wrestling. Superheroes.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I felt like where UFC really started to take off, I know people point to the Ultimate Fighter finale, the first one, but one of the things was Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock, and you had those personalities, and people were like, they did not care about UFC. They got into that, and Chuck Liddell. And all of a sudden, you had these huge personalities.
Yeah, Tito was the first, right? He was pretty much the first villain that people need to see get beat, right?
Yeah.
I used to watch it.
Well, and it was also very much, Tito was very much a pro wrestling storyline. You know, he had a big falling out with Dana White. He leaves UFC. He's never going back to UFC. It had very much kind of like a pro wrestling kind of story feel to it, with, you know, him versus the authority figure.
Yeah.
All right, so next Monday they're in Miami, big city. They got a lot to touting. Ronda Rousey is off of her suspension. She'll be there next week. Brock Lesnar is going to be there next week. Roman Reigns, of course, now is #1 contender. So, I mean, I guess obviously the big thing we watch now is to see how this Brock Lesnar thing unfolds. As we just talked about, we're probably building to Brock's last match for the time being in WWE. Raj, any big other news with SummerSlam do they make tonight? I know we talked about Seth and Dolph. Obviously,
Bobby Lashley is not going to be left off SummerSlam, guys. I'm telling you.
I don't see him in that main event though. I see them keeping that a singles match for sure.
Bobby, watch. They'll find a way. Elias will attack Bobby Lashley and say, "You interrupted me last week," and that'll be your
feud. Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Which, you know, I mean, obviously Elias is a guy they have stock behind, so it's not like it's throwing Bobby Lashley to the side, but it is. I mean, my biggest thing with Bobby Lashley is the dude is such a legit badass. I just wish more of that. You know, the little bit they showcased of that was the stupid obstacle course he did when he was feuding with Sami Zayn. But I mean, like, I wish they would do some of those great WWE produced things, showing him with his military background, showing him with how tough he, like, I just hate the fact that he's such a badass, but I feel like they present him so soft in a lot of ways, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I hate saying this over and over, but I feel like he could use a heel turn. And I never say this with people in NXT. I feel like everyone's on the right side in NXT because they write for babyface as well in NXT. They book heels and babyface so good in NXT, and they just don't do that on the main roster. They give them such crap that I feel like to bring out the full potential. A lot of times you need that heel turn, and I think Lashley's there, Bobby Roode. There's a few others.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we'll see how this Raw fares in the ratings. As Raj said earlier, last week was
actually last week was fine. It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I stand corrected on that. So SummerSlam right now is like Lesnar versus Reigns, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. Or they haven't announced that yet, but it's expected to be AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey. Carmella versus someone. It's probably Becky Lynch. And then the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, it's the Bludgeon Brothers versus they got this tournament. I'm guessing it's going to be the Bar since that's a new match. But it's the Bar, Sanity, the Usos, or the New Day. Ziggler versus Rollins, and then Strowman versus Kevin Owens. If Strowman loses, Owens gets the case.
And you gotta have Cena. I think you're gonna have Cena somewhere on the show. They're not gonna. I don't see them not having Cena on this. I mean, he's been gone. He's due for his comeback now. So I mean, you'd think after we get through the Brock business next week that August has got to be carried by John Cena. What's he gonna do with SummerSlam?
Or maybe Taker. I mean,
I think both. I think it's Cena versus Taker again because they got Taker. Taker's at Mania. Taker's at the Greatest Royal Rumble. He's being booked in Australia. He's doing all these. He was at Madison Square Garden for a house show. I don't see them having Taker for all the other shows, not having him for SummerSlam. So I could easily see him and John Cena this time in an advertised match. I think we have to. I think the show needs that little extra novelty to put that over.
And then do you have Taker just beat Cena again? That seems kind of.
I could see Cena beating Taker this time, and we go to a rubber match later on.
Yeah, I almost think you have to do that in a weird way. So yeah, I mean, if they actually build it up this time, as opposed to it's centered on if he's going to show up or not, I think it could be something big.
Absolutely, guys. Any final thoughts, comments?
Oh, one more thing. Matt Riddle is rumored to be going to WWE. He pulled out of his bookings during SummerSlam weekend, and then tonight PWG announced that he's out of the Battle of Los Angeles. So it's looking like he's WWE bound. He was in the UFC. He had the 8-2 MMA record, but he had a couple of drug failures in UFC for marijuana. And Triple H would say on these conference calls that one of the reasons they're not signing him is because of those drug failures. And Matt Riddle acknowledged it. So whatever they worked out, and so it looks like he's heading over there. So the dude's got a bright future, tons of charisma, is great in the ring. So I mean, the sky's the limit.
I agree.
I think we see Matt Riddle sitting front row at NXT in Brooklyn, as they tend to do to unveil people.
That's what I would think. Yeah.
I mean, if and props to him. He's fun to watch, and if you know his background, it does make me wonder though. I mean, obviously, okay, marijuana is a thing with him. What's changed now? I mean, has he given up marijuana? I don't know. That's the interesting thing to think about. Is it's true because I remember I was on that call. Triple H did say, he's all for second chances, but the guy's got to get with the corporate program.
You run a risk. What do you mean? Every guy smokes pot, but once you sign in WWE, you stop doing it.
Well,
what I'm saying is, I don't know. Some wrestlers doing it.
Don't some wrestlers call it the pot tax? Because you don't get suspended for pot. It's just a $2,500 fine.
Yeah, but you don't want it. If you're lower on the card, you don't want that to happen.
Right.
Against you.
Yeah, and it's $2,500 over and over. It's not a small amount of money. It adds up. So.
Yeah, no, this is a good signing for them.
Yeah.
Very good signing.
All right, so we'll keep our eye on Matt Riddle. Again, not official, but as Raj just pointed out, all the normal signs of when somebody on the independent circuit seems to be headed to WWE, bookings being changed and the rumors out there. So probably something to it. We'll keep our eye on. Of course, Wrestling Inc. will keep you up to date with any updates to the story, anything new that we find out. Be sure to have it up there. Mr. Matt Morgan, where can we find you? What's going on?
You can't find me. Nothing.
Off the grid.
I don't give any plugs. I don't do any plugs.
No plugs tonight.
Nope.
Jeez.
For what? No.
Plug Florida. I don't know. Plug
Longwood.
something. Yeah, we'll plug Longwood.
Everyone knows where to find me on social media if they want to harass me and bug me.
All right, we'll find BP Matt Morgan on social media to harass him. Raj?
Yeah, no plugs either. Just tons of interviews coming up this week on the site, so check it out. My interviews with Moose, Moose, and Eddie Edwards and Teddy Long. More stuff from those. So check out the site.
All right, and I'm at Justin LaBar on social media. I'll be back Wednesday for our post SmackDown chat. I don't know, is Glenn back with me or who's with me Wednesday?
Wednesday will be you and me, and then Glenn is back next week.
Oh, tremendous. Look forward to that for Wednesday, Raj and myself. It's been a great post-Raw podcast for Matt, for Raj. I'm Justin. We'll see you guys Wednesday.